Hello. Today I will talk about survival on an uninhabited island. What happened put Simon in a difficult moral dilemma. Suddenly the surface of the mountain gave way and Joe fell into the abyss. For almost an hour, Simon remained motionless, tied to the rope, lost in gloomy thoughts. He had no idea what was happening at the other end of the rope. Perhaps Joe had died. Simon didn't have enough strength to pull his friend up, and Joe's weight was pulling Simon closer and closer to the edge. Finally, Yates took out a knife and cut the rope. He tried to find his friend later when he descended, but he couldn't. Meanwhile, Joe was alive. When the rope was cut, he fell 12 meters and landed in an icy crevice where he lay unconscious for several hours. When he regained consciousness, he assessed his situation and realized that he wouldn't be able to climb up the sheer ice due to his injuries. He had no choice but to crawl along the crevice. He crawled for several days without food or water, first in his icy trap and then across the glacier toward the camp. Joe recalled that towards the end of his journey, he began to lose consciousness and perceive reality in fragments. In moments when he was about to give up, crawl into his sleeping bag, and finally fall into a sweet sleep, a song by Boney M. which he hated would start playing in his head. It played for hours. It really annoyed me. I thought, damn it, I'm going to die to the sound of Boney M. Early in the morning, Joe helplessly collapsed on the ground just a few dozen meters from the base camp where his friends found him. By that time, the climber had lost a third of his body weight. The Mexican Revolution claimed the lives of many people. It tried to claim the life of the Mexican student Venceslo Mogul 9 times, but it never succeeded. On March 18, 1915, the young man was captured along with a group of other rebels and sentenced to death by firing squad. They shot him 8 times. The 9th, the so-called control shot, was fired into his head. After that, the firing squad, feeling a sense of duty fulfilled, left the execution site. Mogul, who somehow survived, waited for the night and managed to crawl to the nearest church where he received help. In 1937, Mogul shared his story on Robert Ripley's radio show Believe It or Not. A Yakut girl, Karina Chikatova, survived alone in the taiga for 12 days when she was just 3 years and 9 months old. Karina lived with her mother and grandmother in a small Yakut village. Somehow, no one noticed that the little girl had slipped out of the yard until evening. Her mother assumed that the child had been taken by her father, who had come to visit. When the disappearance was realized, it was already dark. For 2 weeks, emergency services combed the taiga. On the 12th day, the girl was found. More specifically, Karina herself stuck out her little hand from the tall grass and grabbed the leg of a passing rescuer. The little girl couldn't vividly describe to journalists how she survived in the wilderness, where even an adult would struggle to last long. However, there is a convincing belief that Karina was saved by a shepherd puppy who stayed with her in the taiga for 10 days, warming her at night and scaring away wild animals with its barking. A brave Scottish boatswain who spent 4 years and 4 months on an uninhabited island not only managed to survive but also became the prototype for the legendary Robinson Crusoe. In April 1703, Alexander Selkirk joined a British expedition to the coast of South America. Within just 1 year, the Scotsman, known for his extremely quarrelsome nature, managed to infuriate the entire crew of the ship's sink ports. That's why, when Selkirk, during yet another quarrel, demanded to be set ashore, Captain Charles Pickering sighed with relief and immediately granted his wish. Of course, realizing his prospects, Selkirk tried to take his words back, but it was too late. The crew left him behind on the uninhabited island of Massa Tierra in the Pacific Ocean, which is now long-live recursion, called Robinson Crusoe Island. Before Selkirk, settlers had already lived on the island, leaving behind goats and cats which had since gone wild. With plenty of free time on his hands, the Scotsman managed to tame the goats, securing a steady supply of fresh meat and milk as well as hides from which he could make rudimentary clothing. He used the cats as protection against rats and, surely, for emotional comfort. In addition, he found patches of wild turnips and edible berries on the island. In early 1709, the British ship Duke dropped anchor off the coast of Massa Tierra, and its crew found and rescued the now well-adapted Selkirk. Upon returning home, the Scotsman became a celebrity. Newspapers wrote about him, and people lined up in pubs to buy him drinks and hear his tales of life as a castaway. A few years later, Alexander Selkirk joined the Royal Navy and set off for the coast of West Africa, where he died during a yellow fever outbreak.